What's going on, everybody? Hey, remember this time about 2 years ago, home arcade scene was booming as far as like three-quarter scale goes. You were able to go online, or you could go in a store at some places and you could go pick up a product and set it up, whether it be Arcade One Up or AtGames or whatever else. We would all be sitting and waiting in anticipation for the latest and greatest products to come out. But now that's kind of going stagnant. Let's talk about it. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Your boy MikeOfAllTrades, coming at you with a thought-provoking video, opinionated video, and just me one share my thoughts and views on some stuff. First things first, y'all know what to do: hit the buttons and all the jazz, all the nonsense. You know what I mean? So it's 2025, and it's literally been forever and a day since we've had a new home arcade product come to the market, or the three-quarter scale, I should say, come to the market and captivate the audience. The community has been starving, have been hungry. You know what I'm saying, to the point where they're searching out the old relics, old versions of games that they might not have had way back when they came out. Because back in the times, you got to think, between COVID and 2022, we were eating good. Arcade One Up was making sure that they were providing consistent products for us to go out and purchase. Whether it been NBA Jams or The Simpsons or TMNT Turtles in Time. There were a lot of cabinets, X-Men, that they just kept hitting us over the head with, like, you want this title, here's this title. You want that title, here's that title. And granted, you had the staff and the people involved to make those things happen as far as licensing goes and everything else, right? And yes, those people are no longer around, but it kind of feels like the new regime has kind of forgotten, what it's like to hear the thrill and have tons and tons of videos. Or hell, they even stopped running live streams. They stopped running live streams about their products. And it's not just Arcade One Up, it's all the companies. Now we get something from AtGames, it's it's a slideshow, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's information, whether and they're giving information, whereas other companies aren't so forthcoming. Now, granted, I think the last real arcade that's come out is the Unico novablast. And that had its own share of problems and with shipping and people getting stuff in damage to the point where I still have not ordered one. However, I did see that the was it Time Rift Arcade or Electric Starship, where they ordered one and actually put it in their business. And if it's good enough to go into business, then it's good enough to go in your home. You know what I mean? And they put like Ninja Baseball Batman, and whatever that is. They put that game in there. I remember that because I showed that on a AtGames 4-player panel. If you didn't see that video will be right there. But I just wanted to wax poetic a little bit, and just go down the litany of people, companies, entities that have not given us anything to look forward to. So we might as well start with the big dog, right? Let's start with Arcade One Up. Now, y'all know Arcade One Up's been around technically, what, 6 years, I think? Like 2019? With the original Street Fighter and the Galaga, what I'm saying? Like, those cabinets, Rampage and stuff, and like the 1201, they've been around. They've been around for a long time. But, fun fact, outside of NBA Jam Deluxe, which technically isn't a new cabinet, they haven't put out a cabinet brand new since Time Crisis. It's been a lot of reshells and reskins and slimcades, y'all like to call them, and now these other abominations that they get from Walmart. I am of the firm belief that they are not interested in making new titles or getting new licenses, but rather they rather would play it safe and then just make the evergreen titles, make your Pac-Mans, make your Mortal Kombat. Hell, they haven't even made a new Street Fighter since the HS5. And that it's sad because it's there's a void, especially over the last year and a half, almost 2 years, where they could have easily filled it. They could have easily been like, okay, listen, we have this tile in the background, let's give it to them. Even if, and it's one of these things I think about, like when they did the interview with Eugene Jarvis and they talked about Robotron, and he talked about how he wanted to do Robotron and things of that nature, and nothing coming to fruition. And it's been dead silent. And for y'all who wave the flag and wave the banner for Arcade 1-Up in 2025, I salute you. Like for real, like I give you your flowers, because that is dedication. That is dedication to a company that has genuinely not given you pause for any kind of celebration. People are now modding their Arcade 1-Ups or buying third party aftermarket parts and throwing them in there, And it's crazy because I think one of the things I've learned about the arcade stuff, at least, shout out at least from Nick Madison. Shout out to Nick, man. Nick's a good dude. Is that the money that I spent on Arcade 1-Ups, probably just get a real one, whether it be a Velix or an actual actual arcade machine, it's just, then you have to deal with maintenance and whatever else, right? It's not for the faint of heart, it's not for the weak. A lot of people like the IKEA approach where you can just take something out of a box, build it, Same thing with AtGames, where AtGames is in the same situation. Well, they've only been selling the Legends and the Legends Mini. They're supposed to be putting out the 4K, but honestly, there are no arcades that go in 4K. I think the highest arcade is like 720p. And there was an article pointed out, and I believe it was James Hates Everything who did a video about it. Don't quote me on that though. Talking about Killer Instinct and the lack of information about that, or even talking about it. You have all this power under the hood and nowhere for it to go, and it's essentially it's a multicade, But it's funny enough, they're locking the multicade features behind a paywall, which is kind of, it's scummy. Like, OTG and stuff like that, that shouldn't be behind paywalls. I know it's like that if you buy a new pinball table, if you buy the starter pinball table. To their credit, I'll say that they are providing finance for people who maybe can't pay the whole thing off at once and you pay it off monthly, but to each their own. You know what I mean? Like, it's not any of our places to judge people's pockets or anything like that, right? But they're at least trying. You're always getting new pinball tables weekly. Like, they love the pinball scene. That pinball scene over there on the AtGames platform is flourishing. You always see tons of videos of people reviewing tables and things of that nature. So, good on them. Unico with the novablast. So they're all caught up and ready to go and take new orders. I'm still kind of leery because literally 90% of the review videos I've seen on YouTube all have some kind of damage to their panels, damage to the product, And then plus there is a little bit of you have to have a little bit of know-how to make that thing run. It's not just a plug something in and it works kind of thing, New Way Toys, they were supposed to be putting out Golden Tee. I know they're working on Castle Crashers and Crystal Castles. I say Castle Crashers. I'm thinking of a freaking 4-player beat 'em up. Probably because I'm looking at my desktop. But between that and, like I said, Golden Tee, and I know Glenn helped with that. That's still not out yet, It's Quarter Arcade, they're doing stuff. There's a lot of companies. Basic Fun, we don't know anything about that, just that they came out and they said that they want to bring us titles like WrestleFest and things of that nature. And listen, you say WrestleFest, you got my attention, because I'm all about that. And then Glenn's FU-Cade, which at the time of recording this video, Glenn put out a post stating that the FU-Cade is on hold because of the current terror situation in the United States, which sucks because that thing actually looks cool. I got to talk with Glenn, interview Glenn, and just chop it up with him about his product, and genuinely excited. He's working on this stuff from the ground up and trying to get stuff going. But again, stuff from China makes it difficult for people to even do any kind of business, especially with like the tariff percentages that are being imposed. You know, it sucks. And it's just one of the things where it's like, if you're a home arcade fan, what do you get excited about in 2025? Yes, you have products like the xArcade where you can hook up a PC or a Steam Deck or, you know, whatever up to it. If you've got a Pandora's box that takes USB, hook that up to it, and you can use it as a control deck, a solution, do VR with it, you know, blah blah blah. Yeah, smack it. Got that video on the channel. You can check that out too. But a lot of people just want something they can just pick up, they can buy, they can build, they can display. And nobody's offering anything like that currently. So then the question becomes, well, what do you do? What do you give people to make them open their wallets? What do you make them do? What do you present them with? That's $1 million question. If anybody from Arcade One Up watches this or sees this, hey, we'll start with you. Yo, remember who buys your products. It's not the TikTok crowd. It's not your Instagram crowd. You know what I mean? Like, people fake playing the buttons and talking about paying somebody in Bitcoin or whatever else. Yeah, that ain't it. We've seen the shorts. We've seen the reels. That ain't it. People like us are the ones buying these machines. So do your best to give us something new. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up like The Simpsons was at $1.99 getting clearanced out. And it'd be sad for you to get taken out the game because you're not presenting new options. Speaking of new options, Iconic Arcade and Media One Up partnered up, you know, bringing the John D joint with the Street Fighter Alpha cabinets and the Street Fighter 2 cabinets. Those pre-orders still going on, so from what I understand, nobody's had their stuff canceled yet. So you still got that to look forward to. I know the Double Dragon cabinet was a prototype, but maybe somehow, some way, someday. But again, we don't know if that's going to be affected by the terror situation. Like, this whole thing just sucks. AtGames, eventually. Essentially, all these companies are in the same boat right now. Where it's, I think they want to pull a trigger. Well, except for Arcade One Up. They're cool selling them game boards and whatever else. But companies want to do stuff. And honestly, just the chaos in the world, man, it's making it so that it's very difficult to make people's dreams happen. In the meantime, between time, hey man, yo, list it off. I know you guys are vocal in Facebook groups and things of that nature and comment sections. Hell, speak in the comment section below, man. Let cats know. What will it take for a company to get your hard-earned dollar in 2025? Like, let cats know, you know, whether it's from Arcade One Up or it's AtGames or Iconic Arcade. Speak on it, you know. I think one of the best things to do, literally leaving comments, and you'd be surprised who reads them, you know. Hell, I'm surprised who reads them sometimes. You know, try to be positive, keep your head up. You know, we all love this hobby, and you know, it's okay to fall out of love with it. It's okay to, you know, not want to force yourself to participate in things. I'm a perfect example of that, you know. Sometimes you just want something to excite you. And somebody's got to give some excitement, right? Thank y'all for watching.